My name is Benton Stokes. I'm a former fundamentalist, post-evangelical worship leader, and songwriter. I enjoy wry Manhattans, roller coasters, and road trips, just not all at the same time.
I'm Elaine O'Rourke, and I'm a teacher, an author, and a spiritual coach. I was a philosophy professor and a liberal pastor in a couple of former lives, and these days, I love aha moments and not-so-dry martinis.
We have conversations about life and God with a queer perspective, over cocktails, like you. This is Cocktail Theology. Today's cocktail's a pretty simple one.
We like simple.
Yeah, it's a basil smash.
Wait,
Smells wonderful.
it does smell wonderful, and then you'll have to explain to me what a smash is.
Oh, that's good.
The basil's really nice. I can taste it, and it's very present, but it also isn't screaming pesto.
No, it's
You
not
know?
screaming pesto. Yeah, so a basil smash, I assume the smash part comes from the muddling.
Oh, I bet that's right.
But it's basil leaves muddled with simple syrup and lemon juice.
Okay.
We had fresh lemons, and we had fresh basil. And then it's just gin, and I used the Tanqueray Rang pour because it's citrus forward.
Okay.
And it just makes for a really, really nice drink.
This would be a lovely summer drink. For all that basil that our listeners have growing in their gardens, they don't know what to do with besides bring to us.
Besides bring to us. That's
Just-
right.
Message us. We will give you the address, and you can drop off your extra basil here.
Yeah, we
That's
love
how that'll work.
extra basil.
So today I wanted to talk with you about, well, let me back up a minute. So a couple days ago, you were telling me about a song you had just written.
Yeah.
And you played it for me, and the melodic stuff, the harmonic stuff of it was very Benton Stokes. Like that, I wasn't super. But the lyrics were not something I've heard you write, at
Yeah.
least not recently.
Right.
So I thought it might be really nice for our listeners to hear, because you've got a demo track of it, basically,
I do.
right? Yeah. So to hear some of it, so they'd know what it was I was asking you about.
Sure.
And then maybe you could talk a bit about how this is different from what you've been writing over the last few years, and what do you think that connects with for you? And then I can ask you more specific questions about
Great.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to start this. This will be the beginning of the second verse through the second chorus and the bridge.
Okay.
Of this new song. It's called "Take the Throne."
Very good.
You could have left me there back then. Another consequence of sin. But when my world went up in flames, you forgave the mess I made. And when I knew the cost, I fell down at the cross. And I crowned you king, I proclaimed you Lord. You knew my soul was worth the price only your love could afford. So rule over my life, I am not my own. Jesus, take the throne, reign over me. I'm never going back again. I give you everything, and just like I did then, I crown you king, I proclaim you Lord. You knew my soul was worth the price only your love could afford. So rule over my life.
So I really like the song. And I think a lot of our listeners will find the imagery familiar.
Yes.
But familiar from a ways back in their lives.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Which I think is true for you.
Yes.
Like you were really kind of reaching back. But I'm just going to throw out some of the words that struck me as not being what I think of as Benton Stokes that I've known for a while. We've got the crown and throne language, of course. You've got cost and price, which are really specific,
Yeah.
or may not be.
Yeah.
I already mentioned cross, of course, and the rule over me, like that sense of authority in
Yeah.
a very specific way. So all of those are really familiar from not so much other singers I've known. They're from, a lot of them are familiar to me from Black Gospel. because
sure.
that's kind of my
Right.
conservative theology background, if you
Right,
will.
right.
And I know that a lot of our listeners will find those familiar as well, but may have disconnected themselves from them or deconstructed them, or maybe just like, what's happened to
Right,
Benton?
right.
Well, I know you, and they know you,
Yeah.
and who you are hasn't changed in the last 45 minutes.
has not.
So can you talk a little bit about like who you're writing for and kind of what all of that works for you right now?
Yeah. Some of this is born out of a retreat that I went to last fall. It was a co-writing retreat. And many of the writers that were there were writers that I had been acquainted with many years ago when I was writing Christian music for the Christian market.
Right.
And getting reacquainted with some of them and making new friends and new co-writers, it really energized me to begin writing for other artists again. Mm-hmm. Over the last 13, 14 years, I've written predominantly just for myself.
Right.
And that was a very worthwhile exercise, and I will continue to do that. But it has also been a nice challenge for me to write for other artists, not just because it gets me outside of my stylistic box, but it also has me thinking about lyrics differently.
Okay.
One of the things I think I shared with you not too long ago is I am envious is not the right word, but I admire some of my Christian friends whose faith seems to be so simple, like it's not something that they grapple with.
Okay.
And that's not to say that they haven't grappled to get there.
Right.
But I think for some of us, once we kind of start tearing at the seams of where our faith started, particularly, if we grew up in fundamentalist or evangelical backgrounds, that's a process that just kind of keeps going.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's bad, but it does keep me sort of always wondering, is that something that I believe or not? Mm-hmm. Is that something I should believe or not? Mm-hmm. Is this consistent with this belief or not? Mm-hmm. And for some of my friends, it's not that complicated.
Right, right.
And so the simplicity of what they have is something that I really admire. Mm-hmm. So I think in my writing, I'm trying to sort of also harken back to a simpler faith for myself.
Okay.
So some of the phrases and the words that you pointed out are not things that I'm settled with. As I've talked about on this podcast before, I don't believe in substitutionary penal atonement or whatever that phrase is, that Jesus was sent here to die.
Right.
To take care of some debt that humanity owed God.
Right.
I don't believe that. But I do believe that Jesus gave up a lot.
Yes.
All the way up to his entire life.
Yes.
And did it because he believed that was his Father's will. And did it because he believed he was doing it on behalf of us.
Right.
And so for me, I owe him this debt of gratitude. And it's not that he's waiting for me to pay up.
Right.
Jesus would never do that. But it's out of just out of the joy and the gratitude that I have for the relationship that I have with God that I don't think I would have had if Jesus hadn't done what he did. Okay. And so that's where a lot of this comes from. Mm-hmm. I liked the idea of writing a song in the first verse, which listeners you didn't hear, but it basically says I built this kingdom for myself and I didn't rely on anybody else. But then when things fell apart and I fell to my knees, Jesus was there, and it doesn't matter how desperate we are or what we've done to get ourselves in the situation where we fall to our knees and beg Jesus to intervene. But our singer did that. Right. And at that point realized that he didn't want to wear the crown. He wanted Jesus to wear the crown. Right. So he crowns Jesus king, proclaims Jesus Lord. Right. And that's kind of where I was getting at with the entire lyric was kind of that. And then it really does kind of enter into kind of worship, modern worship territory with that bridge. The reign over me is a very common theme in modern evangelical worship.
For sure.
And even in hymnody. I mean, it's been around forever. So I kind of went in that direction to sort of invite the listener to think about, what does it mean for Jesus to reign in my life? What does that mean? What does it mean to turn my life over to Jesus in that way and say, I want you to, be the Lord of my life, whatever that means. So I don't want anybody to think that I have gone back to my Nazarene ways, because that's not what's happening here. But what is happening here is that I am writing for a market for whom lyrics like this will resonate. And in the process, it's helping me sort of reconnect with parts of myself from back there. And as we've talked about before, deconstruction, it's important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
Finding the bits of all of that were so meaningful and important to me and continue to be foundational for me.
Yeah.
So the process is, for me, I think it's been really kind of healing in a way, and it's definitely connected me with parts of myself and parts of my faith that I had really almost severed.
Yes.
Because I thought I needed to do that.
Yes.
And some of the stuff that I'm dealing with, I may decide down the road, you know what, this actually is not working for me.
Right.
And I think that'll be okay if that's what I decide to do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm struck by that. I made myself, this is not the language, but I made myself the king of my own world, and then everything fell apart, and so I'm crowning you king. I'm taking off the crown. I am no longer declaring myself the king. And right now we have such a set of kings in the world.
Right.
That I wonder how many folks, and they can be just matinee idols, which we don't use that language anymore, but matinee idols we really admire, and get kind of, as my daughter would put it, parasocial relationships with, right? Yeah. That it's so easy to make either ourselves the final determiner of everything. Yeah. Right? If I think it's bad, it's bad. If I'm offended by it, it's offensive. Right? If somebody and I disagree, I have to win, or something has gone wrong, right? Or to make somebody who's got some visibility or authority or money the determiner, the arbiter, right? Right. So there's something about that particular thing at this particular time that really resonates for me. Right. And when you make someone else king, when you make Jesus king, it's not that you're saying, and now I have no authority over my life. Not at all. Now I'm never going to make a decision. Now I cast it all aside, and if anything goes wrong, then it's your fault. Right? Right. But it is about that, okay, wait a minute. My serving myself and being only attentive to my own view of the world doesn't work. It doesn't work. Right? So I think there's something in that setting aside cost, price, all those other things, that sense of, okay, wait a minute. I am important in my life and what I care about matters, but I cannot have that sense that my kingdom is the only kingdom that matters. Right? Right. So I think there's something really powerful in that, especially right now. Yeah. I hope so. I think that's part of where the inspiration for the song came from, is just because that's been in my head. Just, the idea of kings who just get whatever their whims are. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what it costs the rest of us. I just think I think it's a good time to think about what authority means to us these days. Because, so many of our leaders really have proven themselves to not be trustworthy. Yes. Definitely not looking out for us, only looking out for themselves. Not even a little bit, yeah. So what does it mean to give authority to someone? What does it require of the person that you're giving authority to? And for myself, I believe that in his life, Jesus proved himself to be worthy of that. Worthy of trust. Worthy of trust. Yeah. We've talked before about the notion of having faith in Jesus really means trusting that what he said was true, that the way he lived was a good way to live. That's the idea of that, right? Right. I think for me, the reason I think of myself as a follower of Jesus is because he's definitely the best of the things I've looked at. Yeah. Right? And of all the people I've read, followed, made sense out of, spent time with, and so forth, he's the one who's been right most, right?
Right.
So it's like, okay, if I'm going to throw myself in on a path,
Yeah.
this seems like a pretty good path.
Yeah,
This
right.
seems like a path that leads to kindness towards others,
Yeah.
consideration of community, self abnegation in the best possible sense
Yes.
of that, right?
Right.
It also makes me think that to have claimed power and then to give someone else that power requires maturity.
Yes.
Because it's important first to have claimed the power,
Right.
right? Like if you don't have power and you give your power to somebody, what you're doing is inviting abuse,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But if you've claimed the power for yourself, and in the case of deconstruction, if you've deconstructed stuff and really tried to make sense out of it and said, this works for me, this doesn't work for me, okay, time has passed. Now how do I feel? What am I showing my behavior? Like, that actually is a sign of maturity.
Yes.
Because it means that your ego doesn't have to take up so much space.
Right.
But it needs to take up some.
It does.
Right?
Yes.
So
Definitely.
there's something about that I think is really healthy.
Yes.
And you mentioned healing. I think there's something that can be really healing in that, well, actually, I do matter. And what I say is important. And what I want is important.
Right.
And it's not the only thing that is.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So as you look at things like cost and payment, what does that mean for you today? Because you've already said that substitutionary atonement, penal atonement, that kind of thing, that whole idea that Jesus paid the price essentially to bail us out of hell, right? That's not something you believe. So you alluded to it a little bit ago, so I'm not trying to get you to say something new, but I'm wondering if you could kind of tease out what the cost might be or what the payment might, like what that might mean for you today. Whether it means anything to the same thing to your listeners. or not.
Yeah. Right. For me today, I think when Jesus is coming in on a donkey.
Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
The people want him to be a king.
Yeah.
And yet Jesus didn't want that kind of attention
Right.
through the course of his life. Nothing in the way that he lived his life would tend toward, look at me,
Right.
or
This is my good side.
give me, right. Give me that kind of attention.
Right.
So it kind of started there. And then, through the Last Supper, through Gethsemane, where he's begging God, if you can do this a different way. And then everything that he went through up to and including his death, that was a giant cost. That was a huge price for him to pay to live out God's will, his Father's will. And doing that because he believed that it was on behalf of us. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's the cost part. It's more like Jesus is, in his humanity, continuing to make choice after choice after choice after choice to die.
Right.
Every choice led him closer and closer and closer to the cross.
Right.
What happened on the cross and after, I don't know. but it was those choices.
Yeah.
That was a cost.
Yeah.
And I think that's the cost that I'm acknowledging as I'm just, I'm drawn to the humanity of Jesus. Now, many people will listen to this because from a fundamentalist and widely evangelical view, there's much more attention given to the divinity of Jesus
right.
than to the humanity of Jesus.
Right.
And they may hear this as, died for me, substitutionary atonement. Mm-hmm. And that's fine if they hear it that way. If that resonates with their spirit, if that resonates with their whatever.
You're not going to call them and say,
not here to
you got it wrong.
I'm not going to do that. But for me, that's where it comes from.
Right.
For me,
right. That's important. I'm thinking about the church I attend regularly that our friend Ricardo, whom we interviewed last season, where he's the rector. It's Episcopalian, but it leans to the Anglo-Catholic, and his tradition of Episcopalianism is Anglo-Catholic, and I come out of that too.
Yeah.
And the thing about Anglo-Catholicism, besides it having more smells and bells, being more high church, is that one of the things you do is, if you say the name of Jesus Christ, you bow.
Yeah.
If you are doing the Nicene Creed, there are places where you bow. There are places where you cross yourself. And if I'm in worship, as I'm sure you know, I will bow if I say the name of Jesus Christ. Not Jesus by himself, but Jesus Christ. And that's for me.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus doesn't need me to do that.
Right.
But it reminds me that to leave eternity and choose to be something, and I've preached about this on Christmas many times, that when Christ chose to become Jesus of Nazareth as a baby, he was making himself the most vulnerable thing in the world.
Yes.
Because babies died all the time.
Right.
And we know from later on that he was perfectly capable of dying, right? So to me, that's the first big cost, right? Is giving up that relative safety of eternity.
Yes.
To come and be one of us and to suffer, hunger and embarrassment and all the things that we suffer.
Right.
So for me, when I hear that cost language, it's not paying the penalty. It's choosing to give up comfort.
Yes.
It's choosing to give up authority. It's choosing to make yourself vulnerable.
Right.
And as somebody who hates the V word, I really respect and honor that was a price to pay.
Yes.
Without even getting to crucifixion.
Right. Right.
So when I hear that, that's kind of the way I translate it.
Yeah.
As I go, okay, this is the cost.
Right.
Right.
No, I love that. And as a songwriter, whether I'm writing for myself or somebody else, I hope that people will interpret the song in ways that I didn't think about.
Right.
That's my hope. And especially if I'm writing a song about Jesus.
Right.
I'm hoping that they will bring their own experience to it, and that hopefully it will in some way inspire, encourage, give them a little hope. Because I'm all about the hope.
Yeah.
That's what I want to build into my writing, regardless of what genre I'm writing on and whose voice is there.
Well, I've been really glad, as you know, to hear you writing for audiences that you haven't written for in a long time, and for new audiences who don't know your journey and don't know Benton Stokes, the writer of, Grace and Gravity and Turn Off the Moon and Streams and all of those songs. Because you do have such a rich vocabulary and a rich experience that I'm personally gratified by the fact that you're doing it, but also aware that it's good for the world that you're doing that. And so I'm excited about it, and I just really wanted to talk with you about what you were feeling these days.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Listeners, we appreciate you too.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We love hearing from you. CocktailTheology.com is where we are. Welcoming your questions. If you have questions about my songwriting journey, if you're a songwriter, we'd love to hear from you. What does it mean to communicate faith in your writing, whether it's songs or poetry or fiction or auto manuals or whatever you write? What does it mean to communicate your faith in what you write? I would love to hear from you.
Sure.
And also, we love getting your suggestions for episodes and cocktails. And we welcome your comments always. Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you are listening to us right now.
Yes, please. And I'm going to go back to smashing things.
Sounds good.
Or drinking, smashing things. I don't even know what to do with that. Bye.
Bye.
Funny how the view can change, how life just seems to rearrange itself. No matter what it was, I don't know how it goes, but look, moving on feels pretty good. Moving on feels pretty good.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and hit subscribe wherever you're listening right now. We welcome your comments, questions, and ideas for conversations and for cocktails. Please get in touch with us at our website, cocktailtheology.com. Cocktail Theology is a production of SFS. Our theme song is Moving On Feels Pretty Good, recorded by yours truly, Benton Stokes. You can find my music wherever you stream your favorite artists. Join us next Thursday for another new episode.